I know. It's not often anymore that I look at something from the Studio Series line, unless it's Studio Series 86, but we're roaring back with Studio Series Sideways. Yeah, I actually really wanted this guy. Did he live up to my hopes? Or did he dash them? Well, we're about to find out, because we're going to dive into everything to do with this guy in the latest GotBot True review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Yup, hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that, everything, down in the description below. Also down in the description below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through Spring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. Don't forget, we have some new items on Spring, by the way. And I might even see if I can have a link or two for this guy in there. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so it's not often that I look at Studio Series anymore. It's just I've had to get to a point with the way the prices are and whatnot where I have to control what it is that I'm adding to my collection and become more discerning about it. However, I have never had a version of Sideways. And to be fair, while this is a deviation from the traditional Unicron version, Unicron Trilogy version of Sideways, the complexity surrounding the character is very interesting to read up on, honestly, wherein this is possibly a version that still harbinges to Unicron, but at the same time, this body type also stands as a rather lackluster Decepticon. It's really, really interesting to read about the characterization for this guy. For now, my intention is to have this guy stand in as one of the harbingers of Unicron. However, if there's ever a proper kind of reissue of that one from the Unicron trilogy, this guy might become just another Decepticon. But that said, man, oh man, what a terrific Decepticon he is. I really didn't know what to expect here, what with his, gangly gorilla arms, and I've heard good and bad. Those that have kind of complained about him have pointed out some tolerance issues, but those that love him have loved him enough that they easily put him on top 10 lists for the year. What do I think about this guy? Well, we're about to find out when we head over to the table and take a closer look at him. So it's not very often that yours truly happens to have a Studio Series offering anymore. It's just, with the prices being what they are, man, this day and age, and the cost of living and everything else, you can't have it all, so I gotta pick and choose. But I've never had any version of Sideways, and I wanted one. And indeed, the characterization of Sideways is very complex. If you look, he basically is known as being able to move between sections of the multiverse, and some he's just a Decepticon, and some he's quickly hunted down by the Autobots, and others he's a minion of Unicron. However, at his core, there is an underlying ribbon that connects all versions of Sideways, even if they're not aware of it. It's very complicated. For me, I'm happy to use this guy, not so much as a Decepticon, but as a minion of Unicron. And while I could have went back and gotten the original, I suppose, from Unicron Trilogy, maybe the time will come in the Legacy line or something where we will get a new Sideways of that form. This one for now is pretty darn neat. Of course, before we can get to him, we need to look at the packaging first. It is your typical Studio Series packaging. It's 88. You can see a close-up of his hideous face over there. Nice looking robot right there. Inside we have the cutout that has the backdrop behind it. We'll see that in a moment. Nice robot mode over here, and back here we have him in both of his vehicle mode and his robot mode. Neat. Here we have the backdrop of the Shanghai Pursuit. It just looks like a bit of city. His instructions are all right. Dude comes with this nicely molded 3-barrel blaster. Basically, to put it in, you use this little rectangular peg. It'll go into a slot on his hand. Oddly, you don't use this peg that I can find. And then you wrap his thumb down around. To go on in vehicle mode, it kind of goes on the trunk using these 2 pieces here. It's all right, but some paint would have been nice. And so here is our boy. As mentioned, to put this on, we basically take his hand, open out the thumb. There's a little rectangular slot in the middle of his palm. You bring this down and it should, if you line it up correctly, there you go, should slot in, and then the thumb comes down and wraps around it. I'm cool with that. Let's get into scores for this guy. So first we have to look at, well, the look. And you know what? The best way to do that is to, do you remember when they do the like screen to toy thing, like comparison thing? This guy's a little bit off. The legs are certainly thinner and skinnier than they should be, but the use of, I say, the gunmetal gray and the silver is accurate. The thighs, again, fairly accurate in terms of the coloration, though the pieces here should be angled up a little bit more. The side pieces here on his chest, actually, I don't think this one's really pushed forward the way it's supposed to be. Or is it? Is it? Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it was. My fault. My fault. Again, those side pieces that are silver, they should be angled up more like side swipe. The way that the very center here is opened out, that's pretty accurate actually. The head is an excellent head sculpt, really. Arguably maybe a little bit more black around the eyes and just above, like in the eyebrow area. It should also be up a little higher. Like, I feel like it's down a little bit more than it probably should be. Not a lot, just I feel like it's a little more hunched than it kind of should be. The silver here, like these pieces on his arm, like those pieces on his arm, like they're all kind of good, really. The look of the arm and the kind of spindly nature of his hand, all of that is pretty good. In package, interesting. I didn't have in package these opened out, and I didn't realize that they're supposed to be opened out. There you go. That looks a little more accurate. Yeah, that looks a little more accurate now. I just realized that now. Cool. The doors being up there, yeah, that's kind of accurate. They should be split more than what they are, or angled more than what they are. This is a pretty good sideways, but it's definitely a little stylized with the hood and these kind of angled a bit more, or angled a bit incorrectly for what they should be. Nevertheless, I'm going to say that our boy here is a solid 8.5. Ooh, pretty good. That's a problem. You just notice him fall over? That's a problem. 8.5 is a good start. Let's do the articulation for the guy. So we have a head that can go left and right. It can look up a bit. It can certainly look down. These can move a bit here to give you a bit of extra room. The shoulders are weird. I find to get the outward motion of the shoulders, we have to get like this shoulder peak. Like, how can I get this now? Like out over the front of this. If you do that, it's a little cumbersome to do, but if you do that, you can get the shoulders all the way out. The shoulders go all the way around, biceps swivel, shoulder swivel, certainly 90 degree at the elbow. The thumb moves, the fingers move. That's it at the wrist. Do we have a waist on the guy? Yeah, we got a waist on the guy. That's cool. The hips all the way out to the side. Thighs swivel, forward and back. Forward and back, I guess I should say. Knee to 90 degrees for sure. And when we bring the leg all the way forward, he will stand up okay, but these ankles are quite loose. You don't really get an ankle tilt, but the feet can go all the way around. Why there isn't really, like there's an ankle wiggle, but it's not really an ankle tilt. He is precarious to stand. I do find that using his blaster is a help. It's not perfect, but it is a big, big help. Because of the loose ankles, I'm gonna have to mark it down, man. It makes standing hard. I wanted to give the articulation like about an 8.5. I'm gonna have to mark it down to about a 7.75. The two things that make it lower is the cumbersome, weird nature of having to bring out the shoulders, though I could look past that. But the loose ankles. Now, if you don't have the loose ankles, then honestly, I think the more appropriate score for his articulation would be about an 8.5, maybe even 8.75. It's quite good, and he can do a fair amount. An ankle tilt would have been nice. So I'm saying a 7.75 on my copy, with the caveat that it could be higher on your copy if you avoided the loose ankle QC. That I know is spotty. Some people got it, some people didn't. Unfortunately, I did. Nevertheless, I would say that his overall score right now was 8.5, a 7.75, about an 8.15, 8.2, something like that. Not bad. Certainly not bad at all. But I think the beauty is in the transformation of this guy. Let's do that transformation, shall we? We're going to open this up. Oh, by the way, for anybody who might be just interested to know, before I do the transfer, see? Oh, goodness. Getting him to stand, man. Getting him to stand. Just an interest sake. I mean, here he is next to, Here he is next to, like, Alita 1 from Legacy. So you can see, like, yeah, he absolutely is a typical kind of deluxe size in the modern era. I would say he's a bit light, but there is a ton of molded detail and a ton of paint here. I would have liked to have seen a little more mass, but it's not bad. We're going to take that out of his hand. Okay, we're going to begin by bringing the whole kind of wrist section down, because that is a tire. I also wish that the tires weren't a solid black. They're not really a solid black. Open out the thumb so the arms are kind of left like that. Close in that piece. And close in that piece, though I think the instructions tell you to do that later. If you straighten up the arms, you pretty much have the side of the vehicle done. Then we get back here, we bring this piece up over, and we pick this off. And when we pick this off, see if I can get this arm out of the way. All of this that's in here collapsed in his body will all now hinge out. I love how all of that unfurls. It's his actual body. It's not faux pieces and stuff. It's his body. I dig it. I think it's wonderful. Now we come to the tricky part. So, the legs. We're going to bring the legs up, and they kind of do yoga around his head. And what we have is a section here on the waist that'll go over the back of the thigh here, and then on the inside of the leg, right there where my thumb is, there's a little square peg. That little square peg will go over this little square peg hole. Will go over this little square peg way up by his head. It's a bit of a nuisance to line it all up. So I'm going to attempt to do it, but don't be surprised if I do it off camera and just come back and show you what it's like with it in position. So we take the whole leg and we bring it up, the whole leg, and bring it up, and they'll go in over. See what I mean? Like, it's a bit of a bear to get it all in here. Got that side sort of kind of in, and got this side now sort of kind of in. And basically, you end up with this. Now, I don't have them pegged in. I do need to straighten them up a little bit, because I'll know when they're pegged in, because once they're pegged in, these 2 feet can peg in and pretty much cover his face. It is a beast to try to do it here on camera. You basically see the motion. It's just a matter now of angling the legs so that the little square lines up with the little square back here. I'm going to do that off camera so that when you see him next time, he'll look like this. And there you go. It's not hard to do. I just needed to be able to see to do it, and the distance here is just too much for my old eyes. It's easy to do. You just line it up. They peg on nice, smooth. It's very intuitive actually. But then the whole body now, with the head and the legs and the feet are tabbed together. They're all here now just on this one hinge back here. You take the whole thing really and collapse it up under the back bumper. Then we can come up here to the hood and straighten out those two sections. And I'm going to take this down. All we really need to do now is collapse the shoulder in and then start lining all of this up and bring these down. So I'm going to bring these doors down now. So the top of the car is done. I'm going to line up the hood there. I'm going to straighten up the kind of hood pieces that I didn't have done. And now, using the double hinge here on the shoulder, we angle this underneath and up and in. We angle this underneath and up and in. And really now there's a series of like little tabs and slots back here where we line all of this up like that. And then we push this in. Same thing on this side. We just line up all of those little tabs and stuff, which honestly usually isn't a very hard thing to do. There you go, lined up, tabbed in, and we take the blaster piece here and it goes on the back. I think that that's terrible storage. I probably actually have to turn it around. I think I have it too low. I think I have to turn it around this way maybe. Is it? Let's just see here if I can get this. Yeah, like that, boom. In the end, here we have sideways in his vehicle mode. I took that blaster off the back bumper because he looks so good without it. I love all of the silver done. We have the back taillights done. We have detail on the front. I like all of this is either painted or the way the plastic is ties in very nicely. The only real weakness in vehicle mode, look at the way it's even shimmering off of my surface there, is I really wish the tires were fully black, and I wish that we had the wheels done, the hubcaps or the rims or whatever, colored in. He rolls like a champion. Not a ton of clearance, but he rolls like a champion, and underneath, though the head is kind of here, really, it looks like a vehicle. It doesn't look like a bunch of robot parts. I dig this. I think that this is great. I think the transformation's a 10. It's interesting. It's intuitive. Once you've done it once, you know it. Everything is logical. It's not overly engineered. It's not overly complicated. The guy was getting 8.25. With the 10 for the transformation, though this could have been stored better. With the 10 for the transformation, honestly, the guy finishes off at somewhere around a 9. I think that there are people that would look him over because they're not a huge fan of the live action movies, or they look at him and say, the robot is a bit odd looking, but I'm telling you, what a fantastic Transformers experience. Overall score for this guy, a solid 9. And here we are once again, and here he is, and okay, so he is obviously an oddity. There's no doubt about it. In terms of the look, it's pretty good for sideways, not perfect. If we know the screen animation, there are certain things that are more angular, and there are certain, you know, like these two windows here. They're not really windows; they're metallic pieces. It's a character design in robot mode that's very difficult to translate well to a vehicle, but they've done an admirable job. I think that nailing the arms and the head sculpt was a really, really big help. The articulation is all right. It's not perfect, but it's all right. I do wish that my ankles were a little bit tighter than what they are. They're not atrocious, but they could be better. And I do wish that kind of bringing the arm out was a little easier than having to kind of angle this shoulder piece in front of the chest piece. Again, you can do it, but like it's, you know, like you can do it, but it's a little bit of a finagle to do it. I do like the articulated hands, and I do like the look of the arms. Overall, I think you'll get most of the poses that you would want to get. But the real joy here is the transformation. A lot of times I have said that there's things about studio series that are challenging or that are finicky or that are frustrating, even if both the robot and the finished alt mode are solid. The going between the two sometimes isn't worth the effort. However, with this guy, everything is intuitive, everything is logical, everything is smooth. It's just like butter. This is a very, very enjoyable transformer to convert between both modes. And you know what? He has a pretty menacing looking robot and a really fantastic looking car mode. I think that Sideways is one that a lot of people will overlook, but Sideways is one that's absolutely fantastic. If you get a chance to get him in your hand, I highly recommend. Let me know what you think about Sideways. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through Spring. Some new things up on Spring, by the way. Or of course, you can always hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. Please hit the subscribe button, man. Stick around, have some fun with us. And of course, don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, whether you feel it or not, whether you believe it or not, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, baby, right here inside, pardon me, frog in my throat, inside the videos.